Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go!
I've been dating my boyfriend since high school, and we're currently doing long distance while attending different colleges. He's studying agricultural business in the Midwest, while I'm on the East Coast pursuing marine biology. To help with his expenses, he works part-time at this farm supply store near his campus. It's usually a pretty chill job, mostly stocking shelves and working the register. This incident happened about 3 months ago, but I wanted to wait until everything was settled legally before sharing it. My boyfriend had just started his shift at the register when this guy walked in with a flyer from the previous week. Now, my boyfriend had told me before about customers trying to use expired coupons, but this one was different. The guy came up to the register with some kind of toy, one of those farm animal play sets they sell for kids. When my boyfriend told him the total of $24.99, the customer immediately protested. He insisted that the price should be $4.99, pointing to the price listed in his flyer. My boyfriend tried to explain that the flyer was from last week and the sale had ended that Sunday, but the customer wouldn't listen. He kept demanding to pay the sale price, completely dismissing my boyfriend's explanations. My boyfriend explained that he couldn't honor an expired sale price and offered to either ring up the toy at its current price or remove it from the purchase. The customer then pulled the customer is always right card, demanding that my boyfriend sell him the toy for $4.99. When my boyfriend explained that the system wouldn't even allow such a large price override, the customer demanded to speak to a manager. My boyfriend tried one last time to reason with him, explaining that even a manager couldn't honor such an old sale price, and offered to help find something similar within his budget. That's when things got scary. Without any warning, this guy just reached across the counter and punched my boyfriend right in the face. My boyfriend stumbled backward, blood already starting to drip from his nose. His boss, who was nearby helping another customer, immediately ran over and tackled the guy. Another employee called the police while this sweet older lady who works there got my boyfriend some tissues and helped him to the break room. The police arrived pretty quickly and my boyfriend decided to press charges. We later found out this wasn't the guy's first rodeo. It was actually his fourth assault charge. He was already on thin ice with the court regarding custody of his kids, and this incident was the final straw. He lost the little joint custody he had left. Here's where it gets interesting. A few days later, his ex-wife called the store. Turns out she had given him the flyer the week before when he complained about toy prices, trying to help him save money on something for their kids. She felt terrible about the whole thing, even though obviously none of it was her fault. She even sent a box of chocolates to the store as an apology gift. My boyfriend had to take 2 days off work, and the timing couldn't have been worse because he was supposed to fly out to visit me the following week. His nose wasn't broken, but the pressure changes on the plane triggered a pretty bad nosebleed. The flight attendants were super nice about it though. The legal proceedings wrapped up recently. The guy got jail time, mandatory anger management classes, and community service. He also had to pay my boyfriend compensation for the assault. My boyfriend used that money to buy an engagement ring. He proposed to me during his next visit, and of course, I said yes. The store actually ended up changing their policy about expired sales flyers after this incident. They now have a clear sign at every register stating their sale policy, and they've implemented a new system where current sales are highlighted in green on their digital displays, while expired ones are marked in red. My boyfriend's boss even promoted him to shift supervisor, saying he handled the situation as professionally as possible. So I guess you could say something good came out of this whole mess. We're planning our wedding for after graduation, and my boyfriend's co-workers are all invited. Even the sweet older lady who helped him that day is going to be one of our honorary ceremony guests. The store's become like a second family to him, and they're all incredibly supportive of our engagement. Though I have to admit we both agree that the proposal story is definitely not the romantic tale we imagine telling our future kids. I'm a senior in high school and have been part of the art club since freshman year. Being half Japanese and half Brazilian, I've always used art to express my mixed cultural identity. My paintings often blend elements from both cultures, which has earned me several local art competition wins. The trouble started when a new student transferred to our school mid-semester. She immediately joined the art club and began acting like she owned the place. At first, I tried to be friendly since I remember how hard it can be being the new kid. When she first saw my artwork, she made a condescending comment about how my style was too ethnic and suggested I should try something more normal. I stood my ground and told her that my art represents who I am and that I'm proud of it. She just scoffed and claimed she had won regional competitions, so she knew what she was talking about. I later found out she had never actually won any competitions. She just liked to lie to make herself seem more important. But that was just the beginning. Things got worse when the school announced a major art competition with a $5,000 scholarship prize. I have been working on a piece that combined Japanese ukiyo-e style with Brazilian carnival elements. One afternoon, I walked into the art room to find my canvas slashed and covered in black paint. The new student was standing there with her mother, who happened to be a parent volunteer. Her mother, who I'll call Karen, immediately started accusing me of copying her daughter's art style. She claimed her daughter had been working on Japanese-inspired pieces for years. When I asked about my destroyed painting, Karen had the nerve to tell me I didn't look Japanese enough to claim that culture. She even bragged that her daughter was practically more Japanese than me because she had taken 3 weeks of anime drawing classes. When I pointed out that they had destroyed my competition piece, Karen denied having any proof and said I deserved it anyway for stealing her daughter's ideas. I had actually been recording audio on my phone since I entered the room because the new student had been threatening me earlier that day. I didn't expect to catch them in the act, but I'm glad I did. Our art teacher walked in right then. When she asked what was happening, Karen immediately tried to paint me as a villain, claiming I was harassing her daughter and trying to sabotage her chances at the competition. I mentioned I had a recording of everything that just happened. I played the audio, which captured them discussing how they were going to destroy my art and frame me for plagiarism. The new student had even admitted to lying about her competition wins. Karen started yelling about how the recording was illegal and threatened to sue me. Our art teacher told her that security cameras had caught everything too, and that she'd already called the principal. The principal arrived and Karen went into a rage. She tried to intimidate everyone by asking if we knew who she was and claiming her husband was a lawyer who would own the school. The principal shut her down quickly by pointing out that her husband had been disbarred last year and they had thoroughly checked her daughter's transfer records after several incidents. It turns out this wasn't their first rodeo. The new student would copy others' works, destroy the originals, and then claim the ideas were hers. Her mother would threaten lawsuits to intimidate people into staying quiet. The school pressed charges for vandalism and harassment. My family sued for damages, including the destroyed artwork. The new student was expelled and Karen lost her volunteer privileges at all schools in the district. They had to pay for my entire art supplies for the rest of the year plus damages. I recreated my piece for the competition. It took many sleepless nights, but I finished it just in time. Not only did I win the scholarship, but the story of what happened got picked up by local artists. They organized an exhibition featuring artists from mixed cultural backgrounds, and I was invited to showcase my work. I heard Karen and her daughter moved to another state, probably looking for new schools to scam. But this time there's a record of what they did, and it follows them wherever they go. My brother has always been a character. He was the class clown type. You know, the guy who'd do anything for a laugh. But he wasn't just funny, he was also this massive guy, 6'4" and built like a truck. He even had tryouts with professional football teams as a tight end back in the day. Life took him down an interesting path, though. He spent decades working undercover in narcotics and later became a bounty hunter, tracking down some of the nastiest criminals you can imagine. These days, he's this gruff, middle-aged guy who's been through the ringer but still keeps his sense of humor. We were visiting our mom down on the southeast coast and needed to grab some groceries from the local Piggly Wiggly. Everything was going fine until we got to checkout. That's when this woman, definitely a Karen who'd transplanted herself from New Jersey, decided to make everyone's day miserable. Picture this. She's short, skinny, with this massive black hairdo and a permanent scowl on her face. She marches up to our checkout line, completely ignoring the proper cue, and shoves a $20 bill in the young cashier's face, demanding change right that instant. The cashier, the sweet young girl, responds in the smallest voice I've ever heard, explaining that she couldn't give change and that Karen would need to go to customer service instead. Karen wasn't having any of that. She started ranting about needing filtered water and insisting that she needed her change immediately. The poor cashier's voice got even quieter as she tried to explain again that she wasn't allowed to make change at the register. This went back and forth a few times, with the cashier getting more nervous by the second. Then Karen decided to get really nasty, throwing out an insult about how the cashier was too fat and stupid to work anywhere else, demanding her change once again. I see tears welling up in the cashier's eyes, and she tries to speak but can't even get the words out. That's when my brother steps in, but not in any way I expected. He takes one step toward Karen and lets out this absolutely massive bark. Not a small woof. I'm talking about the loudest, deepest, most obnoxious dog bark you've ever heard from a human being. Every time Karen tries to open her mouth to speak, he just barks louder. It takes about 4 rounds of this before she finally storms off to customer service, while everyone in the checkout area is dying laughing. My brother hands the cashier a 20 and tells her it's for dealing with jerks like that. The poor girl starts crying. I'm pretty sure that 20 was worth several hours of work for her. But my brother wasn't done. When we're walking out, we see Karen at the customer service desk, giving the employee there the same treatment. My brother starts barking again. Every single time she tries to complain, she gets interrupted by this massive barking. She finally gets her change and practically runs out of the store. Outside, we see her pulling a water jug from her Cadillac Escalade, which she'd parked in the fire lane, of course. When she spots us, she just can't help herself and starts yelling again. My brother responds with more barking until she gives up and gets in her car. My brother is absolutely ecstatic at this point, laughing like I haven't seen in years. When we're leaving, he tells me to drive past her car. He rolls down his window, leans half his body out, and barks at her the entire way through the parking lot. She runs out and takes a picture of my license plate with her phone. I can just imagine her trying to explain to the police 3 states away that she needs to file a complaint about a man barking at her. Southern police officers tend to have about as much patience for entitled transplants as everyone else does. I heard through our mom that Karen tried to get the cashier fired, claiming she'd been discriminated against. The store manager, who'd watched the whole thing on security cameras, just laughed and told Karen she wasn't welcome back. Apparently, she'd been making trouble at local businesses for months, and my brother's unusual approach to conflict resolution became a bit of a legend in that small town. The cashier even got promoted to customer service lead a few months later, and I like to think that $20 tip and the memory of a huge guy barking at her tormentor gave her the confidence boost she needed. I moved to the United Kingdom 15 years ago. Back then, I was young, ambitious, and eager to explore opportunities beyond my home country in South America. I had landed a fantastic job offer in London, and despite my mother's protests, I knew this was my chance to build something for myself. The transition wasn't easy. Learning to navigate a new culture, dealing with the infamous British weather, and building a social circle from scratch, it all tested my resilience. But then I met my husband at a local community center, and everything fell into place. He was kind, understanding, and made me feel at home in a country that had once felt so foreign. We got married in a beautiful ceremony, though only my father managed to attend. My mother claimed she was too busy with work and couldn't take time off. It hurt, but I understood, or at least I tried to. When I became pregnant with our first child, I was overjoyed but terrified. Being so far from family during such a crucial time was daunting. I called my mother to share the exciting news. I told her about the pregnancy and that she was going to be a grandmother. Her response was lukewarm at best, just a brief hope that everything would go well. When I asked her to come stay with us for a few weeks when the baby arrived, even offering to pay for her ticket, she shut me down completely. She told me it wasn't her problem that I chose to have a baby on the other side of the world, and that she had work and studies to focus on. She couldn't just drop everything. Those words stung more than she probably realized. Throughout my pregnancy, I watched as she attended every one of my sister's important life events back home. When complications arose and I lost a baby, I faced the darkness alone. Well, with my husband, but sometimes a daughter just needs her mother. Last month, I nearly died. The complications from my miscarriage were severe: hemorrhaging, cardiac arrest, emergency surgery. When a friend from church heard about my situation, she and her husband offered to pay for my mother's ticket to visit for the holidays. I was touched by their kindness and called my mother immediately. I excitedly told her about my friend's generous offer to pay for her holiday visit. She responded by telling me her passport was expired and wouldn't be ready until mid-January. When I said we could wait, she added that she could only come in February, after my sister's graduation. Something in me snapped at that moment. 15 years of making excuses for her. 15 years of spending our money to visit them yearly. 15 years of watching her drop everything for my sister while treating me like an inconvenient afterthought. I told her not to bother coming at all, pointing out how I had nearly died, and she still couldn't find time for me. She accused me of being dramatic and emphasized how important my sister's graduation was. I couldn't hold back anymore. I asked her why I was never important enough. Not when I got married. Not when I was pregnant. Not when I lost my baby. Not even when I almost died. She tried to defend herself by saying it was different because I chose to move away. I responded by telling her that she had chosen to be a mother to only one daughter. I told her to enjoy the graduation and not to expect any more visits from us. I hung up and canceled the ticket. Later that evening, my husband found me crying in our bedroom. He held me close and reminded me that we had built our own family here, one filled with love, support, and genuine care for each other. The next day, I received a barrage of messages from relatives telling me I was being unfair to my mother. My sister called to berate me for causing drama before her graduation. I blocked them all. Sometimes the family you're born into isn't the family you need. My children will grow up knowing that their mother will always be there for them, no matter the distance, no matter the circumstance. As for my mother, she made her choice long ago. I'm just finally accepting it. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.